Hi, so in this video we're gonna take a look at how you can use ANSI escape sequences to add color and style to your terminal output. So I gathered a few resources on this topic, and basically I have these three pages over here. One of them is a Stack Overflow answer, another one is just this website that shows you all the different colors that you can use, and the third one is this GitHub gist, which is very helpful as a reference. Like all of them are very helpful as a reference. I'll link these resources in this description below, and I'll probably refer to them quite frequently as we go through this tutorial. Basically, before we get into like talking about the ANSI escape sequences themselves, I just wanted to mention that there is this this standard utility called tput that some people prefer to use for the same purpose, essentially, because tput will give you basically the same escape sequences, but it will kind of test if the terminal is capable of producing this particular style of text, and then it will give you the escape sequence. Basically, it's kind of is this other way of handling this. I personally don't use this in my scripts for a couple of reasons. Like, one of the reasons is because it's an extra command that the script needs to run, and the other reason is that all of the output of tput needs to be stored in like separate variables, and that will make the script more complicated, or you need to call tput all over the place throughout the script, which is again like adds some overhead, and like that's not necessary. And like it also doesn't have all of the things that it can't do all of the things that you can do with just the raw escape sequences. Like there's certain things that I'll mention them as we go through the ANSI escape sequences. I'll mention like a couple of things that tput cannot do, and I find that inconvenient, so I don't use tput. But I also have this I found this Stack Exchange, like answer on Stack Exchange, which goes through and people give their perspective on the advantages and disadvantages of each approach. So if you're interested in looking into this further, you can check out this page and see if it helps you out in figuring out what are the exact advantages and disadvantages of that. But in this video, I just wanted to go over the escape sequences themselves, which are good to know anyways, because even tput produces them as the output, and then like once in a while you'll probably come across them anyway. And basically I never had problems with ANSI escape sequences, even though tput is supposed to be more portable, because it like tests if the terminal can actually do this style, and only then does it give you the correct escape sequence for it. It's like the ANSI escape sequences are standard, and most modern terminal emulators support them. So like there's no, I never ran into any issues with using them. And I think that it is just kind of, in terms of like the amount of code that it adds to the script, I find it kind of a bit too much, so I don't use tput for that reason, and I just use the raw escape sequences. So that's what we're gonna look at today. So let's go ahead. Basically, let's start with the colors. Now, yes, the colors. So on this page, there's this nice small table that lists the first 8 basic colors that are very helpful, and then you can use like some additional sequences to basically get more colors. But first, let's take a look at these these basic ones. and it'll also it's a good starting point to kind of start understanding the structure of the escape sequences themselves if you're not familiar with them. So I will be using printf in this tutorial to print out the text for testing. You can also use like echo if you're just testing things out on the command line, but when it comes to scripting, I would strongly advise considering using printf pretty much all the time, and there are good reasons for that, and I will make a separate video about that. But in this video I'll use printf most of the time, and yeah, but I'll show you also like how you can do it with something like echo as well, but for the most part I'll be using printf. So basically what I have here is this format string that says print the first argument and then add a new line, and that's like pretty much what what we want here. So I'll just have this argument text, and it will print text and then add a new line, and there we go. So we have this output without any color or style added. So now let's add something. So the ANSI escape sequences have the following structure. So the first character has to be this special character that is either written \x1b, that's in hexadecimal, or \033, that's an octal. I use \x1b, but they are the same. That's the first character. The second character has to be the opening square bracket, and then there's going to be numbers after the square bracket, and when the numbers end there's going to be a letter M. That's the closing that closes that escape sequence. So between the M, or between the bracket and the M, we put all of the numbers. And so here we have all of the codes, numbers or codes, however you want to refer to them. So let's just pick red to start out with. The code is 31, so we can just put 31 here, and we can see that the color of the text has changed. You can also see that now part of that red has affected how my prompt renders, and that's because I didn't close this range, so it just continues printing red until it finds something that stops it, which just happens to happen at this point because I have like probably like a reset sequence there in the prompt. But you should also always close these things, because then like if you don't, it'll create a mess, obviously. So for the closing sequence, you can use 0, which will remove all style and color, and that will kind of solve our issue with the prompt here. But I think there's a better way. I always use the specific reset sequence for whatever it is that I'm resetting. If I can, I always use the specific one, because it just kind of makes the code more readable. Because like if you see, like if you just glance at it and you see like, oh, 0, you don't know what it resets. But if you put 39, it resets foreground color specifically, as it says here default, and then it gives like 0 for reset, but this just means reset everything, and it includes even like bold text, italic text, which we'll go over later in this video. But yeah, this just resets the color, specifically the foreground when I use 39. So this will produce the same output, but this specifically resets the color. Now we can also change the background color, and the codes are exactly the same, but they start with the little digit 4. So like 31 is red foreground, 41 is red background, and so on. So we can change this to 41, 49, and we'll get red background instead of foreground. So we can obviously also combine the foreground and the background, and we can set, for example, let's set, it's pretty hard to read because the text is very bright, the text is white and the background is very bright, so we can change text to black and set 30 as the foreground color. So 30, 41, and then 49 closes the resets the background color, and 39 resets the foreground. So there we go. And the order of these can be whatever you want. You could also have 39, 49, but I just kind of go because 41 is the last one here, so I use it as the first one here. It's sort of as if I was writing HTML type of thing, but it doesn't matter in this case. That's just my preference of that's how I organize my code. Yes, so as you can see, we now have black text instead of white text. So this is basically our colors. Are basic colors. So as you can see, there's 8 of them: black, red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, cyan, and white. But you can have more colors than this. I have this test script here, and let me actually so I have some stuff over here. Let me comment this out because we haven't gotten to that part yet, but just to show you how all of the colors look, I can run this script, and here's the code. You can take a look. It just basically inserts 30 to 37 here, and over here does the same thing, but it adds plus 10. I don't know why I was just messing around with it. This is not really necessary. I can just do this 40, 47. So this loop just will print out all of the colors in this particular set here. So there's 30 here, but it's black, so and 40, but that's why you can't see it. But here's all of the possible options with this particular set of colors. So now let's take a look at the 256 colors, because in that case you have more options. So let me see. Basically, the escape sequence that we have to use here starts with the number 38. You might notice that in this list the 38 is missing, and that's because that's this kind of, I don't know, this is number that does other things, and you need to have also a second number after it. So 38.5 specifically refers to these 256 bit or just 256 colors. So, and then after the 5 you have your the code for your color. And for this, for example, this page is very useful because it lists all the possible colors in this nice nicely organized way. So as you can see, we have more colors here. So let's try something out. Let's try out this orange color, for example. 208. So I'll go printf %s text, and so we need to use that 38.5 sequence. So 38 semicolon 5 208 m to close it, and backslash x1b. We can use 39 here to to reset the foreground color. So here we have orange text. We could also have it in background as well. All we need to change is the yeah, 30 to 40 basically. Here's the orange background, and let's just make it black so that it's legible. 38 or 39 rather. There. So and you have a lot more colors here. I basically have this other section here in my script, and I'll run it right now. That just shows you all of them at once. So here are all of the colors that are available there. These first 8 actually correspond. They are the same as these ones, and the 8 to 15 are the bright versions of these colors. So there's also like these additional codes that go like 90 to 97 and 100 to 107 for foreground and background for bright black, red, green, etc. But like it says here that it's some kind of special specification or something like that. Maybe these, I'm not sure if these sequences are standard or not. They do work in my terminal, but I just kind of like, if I need to use bright, I'd probably go for like 38.5, 8, 9, 10. So basically here's all the styles that are available. So they are bold, dim or faint, italic, underline. Then there's this blinking mode which does not work in my terminal, but it says here that it exists. Then there's inverse or reverse mode, which basically swaps the not basically, that's what it exactly does. It swaps the background and the foreground color. So if you had black background and white text, then it will turn it around and it will make it white background and black text. Then there's hidden invisible mode, which hides the text completely, and then there's strikethrough. So let's start out with the bold. Let's take a look at how that works. So the code for bold is 1, and the reset sequence that is specific, like other than 0, you could also use 0, and that would so let me clear the screen. Perhaps that's a bit easier to see, that we're not distracted by that huge palette of colors there. So here's bold text. Maybe I can, I don't know, like it's usually necessary, but basically here clear. So let's start with like with the non-bold, just like plain. And here's bold. So so I could use 0 to reset it, but that resets everything: the color, the style, just all of it. There's a specific escape sequence that actually, it's not specific to bold, but it's specific to bold and or dim. Basically, it resets both of them. If one of them is set, it resets it, and if both of them are set, it resets both of them. So I could use 22 to reset bold, and that's what I usually, that's what I do in my scripts. Like I always use the more specific reset sequence if that's available. So now what is dim? Dim just makes the text like dimmer. It kind of like, if the text is white, it looks like gray, like this. If it's colorized, then the color just becomes dimmer. Let me just kind of add some color here. Maybe let's go for that orange that we tried out. few moments ago. And so yeah, 2 and reset the orange with 39, or yes, 39. So here's orange with dim and without dim. Well, in this case it actually does look the same. Maybe if I tried red 31.2, I think this would look different. So like this is dim red, and this is just, oh, I forgot to do 39, but basically yes, this is a normal red. So like back to the bold and dim together. So if I use both 1 and 2, 22 resets both of them. So this is bold and dim, and it's reset at the end by this 22. So if I had like more text here, and let's say I wanted to print that as well, so %s here, so I could, like if I use 22 here and I have to, or I want to have this bold again, for example, but not dim, then I'll just have to start like set bold again. Like that's the only way. There's no specific reset sequence for bold. So this is how you can do this. This is not quite right there. So this is yes, text is in dim and bold, and more is just bold. So then there's italic. For all the other styles there is a specific reset sequence, and they kind of go, you just add a digit 2 to the number. So like if it's 3, then it's 23. For bold it's like 22, so that kind of breaks that pattern. And there's a note here that's kind of highlights this and explains some more stuff about it. You can take a look at it later if you're interested. So so let's take a look at italic. That is 3, so 3 is italic and 23 resets italic. Again, you can of course like just have like bold italic, for example, and there you go. Or even dim, bold, and italic, like all of them, any combination. So then there's underline for 24, and it's underline, inverse, reverse. So this is kind of a bit, this one is a bit special because it like I said, I already mentioned that it swaps the background and the foreground. So right now the foreground is orange, so if I go, what was it again, 7, so if I add a 7 here and also close it with 27, that makes the background orange, and since the background was black, now the text is black. So that's what this reverse mode does. Hidden, I actually never used that, never had a need, but I think it just hides all the text. Let's see, 8, 28, yeah, nothing. Oh, okay, like if you select it, then you can see it, but otherwise it's hidden. So that's the hidden mode. And then finally Strikethrough, it adds the line that goes through the text. and that's how that looks. So these are all the styles, and yeah, and I already showed how you can combine it with color a little bit. It's just you basically you can chain as many of them as you want, and you can make it have whatever color background or foreground and whatever style that suits your needs. So now I did say that I was gonna mention something about how to use these escape sequences without printf, and this is important to know as well. So let's see. Basically, I could. So let's select something that is kind of clear and unambiguous. For example, this, just orange text. So if I wanted to save this string with these escape sequences and everything to a variable, or before I save it to a variable, it's gonna work the same with the variable. I'll just use echo in this case to show that, like if I just saved, I need to replace the %s with text here because we're not using printf anymore. So if I just echoed this, you get the literal characters. I don't need the new line, but you just get the literal characters. So you to make it so that these escape sequences get interpreted, you need to add a $sign before the single quotes, and it only works with single quotes. $sign with double quote has some other meaning, but with single quotes, that's what it does. It interprets like these escape sequences. So now you get the same output text. I could also save it to a variable, and I would also need this $sign thing here with the variable, so I can just save this to the variable, and I can now echo it out, and it works. So this is how you can save text with the escape sequences and everything to variables. So there's that. I could of course like also add the escape sequences here. When I used printf, it doesn't really so like you see, like with printf, you don't need to add the $sign here because this format string already deals with the escape sequences on its own. So, but if you added it to the argument instead, which is kind of doesn't really make sense to do in printf, but if you did, for example, let's just go. So let me just erase this %sn. So, and maybe I would, like, let's do the same thing as we did with echo. So this will print the same thing, but if I wanted to like pass this string to printf, then I would also have to have a $sign there, of course. But like if you have the escape sequences in the format string, you don't need the $sign. It's just it just works as it is, like this. So, and it makes more sense to put them in the format string because the purpose of the format string is to add all of the formatting and everything in here, and then you can just pass arguments to this and have the text printed in the way that you want. So let me see. Like this is pretty much like it when it comes to the escape sequences. Like these are all of the kind of options that I normally use. There's also like other things. Here's like a section in this answer that says like all the colors and the capital letters. You can also use RGB colors. And basically like your terminal has to support it, and I don't think mine does, because let me show you what happens. Basically this is kind of like for the most part, like I never really need more colors than this, so like I never had to like use RGB colors that I really needed a specific color. But here's like it says that like you need support the terminal to support true color in double quotes, but there's some link here, so you can take a look at that if you're interested. But basically, in this test script that I have here, I have like a section that will kind of print out all of the RGB colors, and there's so many of them that it takes a while for it to actually run. So let's just kind of try it out. And also zoom out a little bit because I think the text doesn't quite fit. So it'll take a few seconds for it to figure out, but here you go. So like it starts printing out like all of the possibilities, and there's a lot of them. But as you can see, like even though these like numbers are changing for like a certain period of time, I just get one color and then it abruptly changes to the next one. So I think what it does is just kind of uses the 2256 colors, just converts the RGB to this 256. So I'll stop this because it's gonna run forever. But there's also RGB colors, and the way you do it is you have 38.2 instead of 38.5. Like 38.5 is for 256 and 38.2 is for the RGB. So yeah. Yeah, I also said that I would mention some things about tput. So for example, tput does not have like specific reset sequences for like everything. Like it doesn't have these like 30, 38, 48, for example. At least I didn't find them. Like I just looked at some page here, for example. It only lists where was it, like, so basically you can, let me show you what it does while I'm at it. So like tput, for example, like you could go tput bold and that would output the ANSI escape sequence for bold. To see it, I'll use sed and I'll add some sed stuff here. I'm not gonna explain what this does, but basically it will just allow us to see the escape sequence that otherwise is not visible. So here, like it outputs this ANSI escape sequence for bold. This $sign just means the end of the string there. So, but like it only has like a limited number of them. So like for example, for colors it only lists like set foreground and set background. So you can do that, of course. Set AF like 1, and that gets the 31, which is red. So that works all right, but then I can't get the 30 like the 39, which resets the color specifically. So that I would have to do this as SGR0, which just produces the, actually I don't know in what, like, yeah, like basically this should be equivalent to 0M, but like it outputs something different, but I'm pretty sure that it works the same. So it turns off all attributes. So yes, basically it's quite a bit more limited, and it adds a lot of like additional commands that you need to include in your scripts. And like if I wanted to, you know, let's say I had like a bunch of instances of where I have like bold in my script, so I either have to run tput all the time in each string and go like printf, you know, like tput bold and then like %s and then like tput sgr 0, close that stuff, like new line, and then like text. I mean, this works, and you know, if the terminal for some reason doesn't support something, or it has some kind of peculiarity about it, then tput might pick up on it. But like, for example, someone here suggests, I mean, at least it sounds like, it also isn't basically foolproof. It seems like, but I didn't use it very much, so I'm not gonna like really speculate on that. But the point is that what I wanted to point out is that like here I have to run, instead of like just one command with all these escape sequences already there ready to go, I have to run 3 commands. Like alternatively, of course, I could just like save that to variables, but then I'll have like additional variables here, so like I'd have to like invent some names, so like I'd have to like go like style bold, and then I'd have like a bunch of these variables hanging out in my script, and then like style reset equals that, and then I would have to like add all of that to printf, and like, I mean, come on, this is kind of a bit too much. When you kind of know how the escape sequences work, I'm just kind of used seeing them, and like you kind of eventually just memorize all those codes, and something like this doesn't really, let's pick one that is sort of like formatted. There, like when I see this, I just kind of know like, okay, this is just like one of the 256 colors, and 208 is something that I kind of know as orange, so like I would probably immediately recognize this, and this just, I know this, like, okay, this is the end of the color, and like it's not that complicated. Yeah, like at first when you learn, it just looks like a bunch of mess, but eventually you become able to parse it, and it's not complicated at all. While tput does have an advantage of like being kind of more sort of like, in case the terminal doesn't support anything, it might take care of it, but then like it adds so much stuff, and since these sequences are standard, and I just like, I never had dealt with a terminal emulator that did not support something that I like, so like, you know, these colors and styles are so basic that it's unlikely that there's going to be any problem. So that's why I prefer ANSI escape sequences. So there's just some things about tput that I wanted to add there. I'll add this tutorial as well to the description in case you want to take a look. I mean, I think it's like legitimate. Someone might prefer to use it, and they might have good reasons to do so, and that's all right. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now on this particular aspect of things. So okay, this is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful and that it helped you understand ANSI escape sequences better, and use them in your scripts, and hopefully it's not like, if it did look mysterious to you at first, I hope you can see that it's not all that difficult, and it's pretty yeah, like it's not all that hard to remember these codes after a while, once you get used to using them. And we have like these nice references to use when we forget. And yes. So yeah, this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.